What is going on, guys? This is Miasin, and I am one day late, but I'm still gonna make this video. My kind of thoughts on the remote Duel YCS that just happened. It's not finished yet because we're going to have the playoffs in a couple of weeks. So yeah, if you're on the top 16, well, congratulations to you because you're gonna get a prize card. Yeah, at least a prize card. You're gonna get, obviously, the invite to compete in the live streams to play it off, potentially win first place, which is gonna give you that trophy, that ultra rare prize card. And I know a lot of people who are in the top 16, both for North America and Europe, so congrats and good luck to every single one of you. And yeah, for everyone else who actually doesn't necessarily have an idea of how the remote Duel YCS actually ended up going, I'm going to tell you right now. But before you start, friendly reminder to like and subscribe. Really does motivate me so much to keep making videos like these, and let's jump right into it. Alright, so a lot of people kind of always wonder how are remote duels, YCSs, and events just in general organized. It's on a Discord server and it was held in a pretty organized fashion, so I want to give a huge shout outs to the Konami staff for doing a pretty good job at just organizing everything and making sure that people were just not overwhelmed, because even if we had a pretty huge amount of players in every single YCS, like North America I'm pretty sure got like 1900, which is quite a lot. What they did basically is that they divided the 1900 basically into 10 groups. I think the letters A to I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was around 10 groups, and yeah, there was just never over like 200 people in each Discord server, and it was basically a bracket, so you had to kind of play against people in that bracket. Sometimes maybe you could get unlucky, there would be a lot of good players, or sometimes every single deck would be like meta, and then in another bracket you would play against a lot of rogue, so there was definitely a lot of variance. I don't really like the term variety. I think in Yu-Gi-Oh! The term variety has too much of a good connotation, but I'd rather use something like variance, which can also mean, you know, luck, bad luck, etc. So variance is going to be the term that we're going to be using here, and that could definitely screw you over big time. But before we actually kind of go really in depth into that, I also want to talk about judges. Now, judges apparently wasn't too great because they did give a lot of incorrect rulings. Sometimes they just weren't doing their job, or they were doing their jobs incorrectly. They would kind of spectate a match and something completely illegal would happen, and then the judge would actually kind of realize way too late that something wrong happened, and after that, well, it doesn't matter if the guy cheated because it's accepted game state since he drew a card, and you can't really go back there. So you can't really repair a game state when things just went like too far. This is also something that happens on Dueling Book, where people realize that an illegal move happened, but they realize really late, and then they have to call a judge, and you waste like an hour of your time. So you're like, do I want to waste an hour maybe on something that isn't even going to be repairable anyways, or do I want to just leave this match or leave the game, whatever? But in real life, in a YCS, it's actually really dangerous because the judge might not even have the correct information or even the knowledge in order to judge, and sometimes one of the players out of the two is lying. So in this situation, it becomes kind of a soft cheat in a way, because you're misrepresenting the game state and you're taking advantage of the fact that maybe your opponent is under a lot of pressure and doesn't really necessarily, I want to say, have the balls to confront his opponent, or maybe to call the head judge in this situation. Because one thing that you should know is that even if a floor judge gives you a ruling that you are not agreeing with, you have all the right to contest and call the head judge. However, if the head judge comes and gives you the ruling, you are absolutely forced to agree with it, even if that ruling is objectively incorrect. Like, for example, the New Jersey YCS Caucus 2018 ruling with infinite impermanence, negating a Gookie monster and then randomly just not be able to trigger in the graveyard because apparently imperm follows the monsters even after they leave the field, which is pretty stupid. But some unfortunately completely illegal things happened in this event, and I don't really want to name like some specific people because I'm not here to attack people in this video. That's definitely not my goal. I'm not trying to destroy someone's reputation, but I kind of lost a lot of respect for some people that I actually kind of respected them a lot. They were like two pro players, and now I'm like, you guys actually cheated, and that's kind of the reason why you even made it that far. It's kind of sad because when you think about pro pro player, you think of someone who is pro by his technical ability, but unfortunately in Yu-Gi-Oh! And especially in Remote Duel, because of all the bullshit and how easy and convenient it is for people to cheat, and also because of the stress aspect, I want to say right now, it's almost a bad thing to consider yourself a pro player, because it almost means that you're just a better shark, a better cheater, someone who manipulates the rulings in his favor every single time, and not necessarily someone who deck builds better or plays better. And I just feel like a lot of people who topped the event shouldn't have topped, and a lot of people who didn't top the event actually should have topped because they got cheated against and they had no business losing their games whatsoever. Now we're kind of done talking about other people and what happened to other people. For my own experience, nothing bad happened to me, so I'm actually grateful. I mean, nothing bad happened to me, that's kind of big. My YCS experience was disgusting. The thing is, every single one of my opponents was extremely nice, and I literally enjoyed playing against everyone. The one issue is that variance, like I said, was disastrous for me. I pretty much deck builded in order to kind of assume that the meta was gonna be kind of the same in practice as in theory. So I was like, you know what, there's no way I play against like 75% of my matchups which are gonna be like unplayable. But I ended up playing 0 Tri-Brigade in 8 rounds, which is BS, because I just felt like I would play against at least one. I didn't play against a single rogue deck, or at least at least a non-meta deck. I didn't play against I only played like 1 Sky Striker Mirror, and I played against 3 Drytron. I barely drew hand traps, and I played 15 of them. 15 in 3 Drytron matches. I only drew Ally of Justice Cycle Reader once, and my opponents had instant fusion almost as often as I had hand traps. So I was basically just sitting there not being able to do anything, and when I was going first, I was getting Twin Twistered, ashed, and full comboed with instant fusion as well. So I was like, it's just kind of hard for me to be able to breathe and play the game, because the issue that I have with this current meta game is that you're kind of forced to play a deck that plays hand traps. You really have to, because if you're not, you're losing every single one of your game 2 where you're going up against Drytron. Since the deck is unfortunately quite consistent, it only really needs 2 cards in order to make Herald of Ultimateness with like multiple negates, and you can't just say, oh yeah, but kaijus. That doesn't work, because it's not like they just had Herald of Ultimateness. They still have IP Masquerena, multiple cards in hand, Herald of Orange Light, probably hand traps, other cards, probably. They have a crazy follow-up, so if you can't kill them, you are going to die. And if you kaiju, you're already down from 6 to 5 cards, so just try to think about it. You have 5 cards going up against either a Unicorn or Appaloosa for 3, and your opponent has confirmed guaranteed 2 Herald of Orange Light, and you're in a position where if you cannot kill your opponent, you are 1,000,000,000% going to die because of the huge stack of Drytron cards in the graveyard. And that's what makes Drytron a really annoying and frustrating deck to play against. And even when you do play Drytron, you can't even say, oh yeah, but if the deck is so good, then just play it and stop complaining, because the deck just still has a lot of flaws. You can't say it's the best deck by far, because a deck stops being the best deck when it is so anticipated and when everyone is playing it. Because what ends up happening is that you start encountering mirror matches or other decks that might be kind of bad matchups. You might start losing your dice rolls. You might just not be able to break your opponent's boards. Your day might just not be your day. You could get Jewel and Lockbird, for example. Things could just go really, really bad when you play combo decks, and this is kind of an issue that I do have with Drytron. So unless you're very perfect at the game and very lucky at the game, it's kind of impossible to guarantee a top in this current format. I just feel like Konami didn't really do a good effort on their previous ban list, because I want to say ever since we got the coronavirus, every single format has been garbage. Just try to think about it. I want to say one of the first ones had Full Power Adamantipator, Eldritch and Infernoble Hand Loop with a Smoke Grenade, and Dragon Link with Buster Lock. That was not a good format. You could hand trap your opponent 4 times and they would still hand loop you and full combo with multiple negates. But if you didn't play hand traps, well, guess what? You're getting Smoke Grenaded. So it doesn't matter if you have Super Poly, Kaiju's Dark Ruler, none of that matters, because you are forced to play hand traps. And that is the huge problem that I have right now, is because before we actually jumped into the virus format, the game wasn't that bad. I mean, the last format that we had was like Salamangreat, Sky Striker, Orchis. You could actually have 0 hand traps in your deck and play going first, second, whatever. It didn't really matter too much because people weren't FTKing you, quote unquote. But now if you're not preventing your opponent from playing, you're gonna die. So the game is telling you two things. One, have enough interruptions to stop your opponent from doing anything, and two, have a strong engine good enough in order to be able to play proactively, because if you break, then your hand traps don't matter since you break and you can't do anything, so your opponent is just going to still keep doing the same thing. So you're forced to reduce the consistency of your deck by trying to play cards that reduce the consistency of your opponent. But if your opponent's deck is too consistent or too powerful, what are you achieving? And another problem, I want to say, I don't know if it's Konami's fault necessarily. Maybe you could argue that their exams to hire judges are maybe a bit too easy, because there are unfortunately some floor judges, and I'm not trying to attack all floor judges as a whole, that's not my goal, but there are unfortunately some floor judges that really do ruin the experience for people, because when you are given like a completely incorrect and illegal ruling, something that is just objectively wrong, just actually not even an opinion, it's just like, oh, it works like that, by the way, shut up and keep playing the game. Well, you know, not everyone has the reflex to call the head judge, because not everyone knows that you even can do that. It's kind of like always calling a lawyer when you get, I don't know, like questioned by the police when you are innocent and the police is trying to screw you over. I don't know, it's just really stressful for everyone, and when you have judges that don't necessarily do their jobs correctly, it really does make the experience overall worse. And even though I wasn't a victim of that, there are some of my friends who actually got completely screwed over by that, and they lost to people who actually, like I said, had no business winning, which is very infuriating. Anyways, guys, what do you think about all of this? Do you agree with what I said, or you don't disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Motivates me so much to keep me making videos like these. I am really tired. Let's go to sleep and let's upload this video right now. Peace!